Hi guys and welcome back. So we just finished creating our database using phpMyAdmin, and we've created a MySQL database and a MySQL user. Now we want to connect our application, that is our Laravel web application, to the database and tell our web application that, hey, I want you to be able to connect directly to that database. So we do that by making use of the .env file. The .env file is a configuration file that you use to configure lots of settings. So if you look at the .env file, it has an app name, app environment, app key, app debug, and lots of other parts. But where we're going to focus is here, right? Where we are focusing on is here. By default, Laravel comes with a connection for SQLite, right? SQLite is another database which comes by default. But in this case, we don't want to use the DB connection SQLite. We want to use the DB connection MySQL, right? MySQL. So we want to use the DB connection MySQL. Let me disable this so that it doesn't cause us school. So first thing, we have to uncomment the DB host, right? The DB host, it was initially commented. So we are saying that our DB host is 127.0.0.1, which is localhost. Remember that we created our user and said that our user, the host was localhost. Then the port by default is 3306 for all MySQL. Then we go now to the database. But the database is not Laravel. Remember, we created a database. The name of the database was Learn Laravel EW, right? So we created the database. The name of the database was Learn Laravel EW. Now, the database username was not root. The database username was Learn Laravel EW user. I think that's it. And then the password was password.123. So this is what we did. So we created a database called Learn Laravel EW, and we created a database user called Learn Laravel EW user, and a password of password.123. So once you've been able to do that, you will open your terminal, right? You open your terminal and you have to run php artisan config cache, because all of this file is cached in configuration. So each time you make a change, each time there's a change that you make on your .env file, it is always advisable to run php as an config cache. So once you run it, the configuration has been reloaded, or you can still run php artisan optimize, right? So this is a general command that does a lot of other things. So it optimizes the configuration, the events, the routes, and the views. So once you make any changes to this file, the .env file, it's always important for you to run either php artisan config cache or php artisan optimize. So once you've been able to do that, then your configuration is set, and this configuration is read inside the config file database, right? So if you look at config file database, you will see that, I'll open this side by side. You will see that it's saying that the connection here, the connection driver here is MySQL, right? So this is the connection, MySQL. So this MySQL relates to this, the DB connection, MySQL. Now, the DB host is this one, right? The DB host is here. The port is this port. The database is this database. The user is this user, the password, and all the other things, right? So the env is saying that go to the environment file and look for the configuration called dbhost, and if you don't find it, this is the default value you should use. So you can read more about how the env function or the env helper works. So env helper says go to the env file, look for the configuration or look for the index called dbport and get me the value. But if you don't find the value, use this one. So go there, get the value, but if you don't find it, there's a default value for this. So we can close this one now and go back to seeing this. So the next point that we are going to explore in the next video likely is how to create databases, create database tables directly into our MySQL database using our Laravel project.